Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Gray from Makazashi's Tea House over in Japan. I hope you're good. I hope you're Genki. I hope you've got a horror vibe on because we're going to be talking A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original 1984 movie written and directed by the wonderful Wes Craven. Now, to help me on this horrific journey, I have three special guests I'm going to bring in. Here we go. The first one is the unbelievable, the completely necessary Nerdporeal. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for inviting me on the stream. I can't wait to talk about some 1, 2 Freddy's looking or something for you.
Coming for you. So creepy, isn't it? That nursery rhyme. It's really weird.
Nursery rhyme along with the sound mixing and the music the synthesized music. Wow. I can't. Yeah. It's just. I'll just say it's innocent yet creepy at the same time. It's like it has that innocent tune that just makes it even more.
It does. It sounds a bit like me, Nerdporeal. Innocent but creepy at the same time. On that note, let me bring in the very innocent and not at all creepy Purple Valkyrie. How are you doing?
3, 4, better lock your door. I am doing well. Hey there. Good morning.
Good morning to you. It's very early where you are, Purple. Just let the chat know, what time is it in the UK?
It is 5 a.m. and it is officially October. So I am very excited.
Yes, same in Japan. It's actually 1 p.m. on Saturday, October the 1st. I'm feeling like getting excited for Halloween coming on. That's why I thought we'll start with a horror movie. Okay, let me bring in the last but not least, the fantastically wonderful Prophet of the Dragon, Steve, who's been killing it with Rings of Power watch parties, live streams. How are you doing, Steve?
I don't know about killing it, but thank you. I refuse to sing. I won't hurt your chat like that. So, plus I don't know it, so I'm not gonna screw it up like that guy.
I don't know what you mean.
And just have a quick shout out to the chat. Great to see Nosferatu the Vampire. He got so excited when the dubstep music kicked in. We also have Dempsey. How are you doing, Dempsey? Great to see you, and it was great to meet you properly on the Excalibur watch party with Zax the other day. That was so much fun. We have Zombie Main in the house saying Nosferatu. Good to see you. Okay, so this is a new style of show. What I'm going to do is go around the panel in a clockwise order. So we're going to start with Nerdporeal, then it will be Purple, and then Steve, then I'll go at the end because I'm the last. Yeah, I'm the final countdown maybe. God, I'm getting stream brain, guys. I'm going all over the place. So let's stay focused.
I'm here, so it's gonna go. It always goes to chaos when I'm around. It's okay.
Controlled chaos, Steve, isn't it? That's what it's all about. That is live streaming.
There you go. Absolutely. We pretend it's controlled when I'm hosting, though. So.
Okay, I'll just give a very quick Wikipedia-based introduction to the movie for people who aren't familiar with it. But it is a 1984 supernatural slasher film written and directed by Wes Craven, produced by Robert Shea. It is the first installment in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Who knew it was going to be a franchise, eh? And it stars Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, one of my favourite people from Enter the Dragon, Ronée Blakely, and Robert Englund, of course, is the one and only Freddy Krueger. And it has Johnny Depp in his film debut. There we go. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's start with Nerdporeal. Here we go. A very brief summary, like initial thoughts on the movie Nerdporeal. What did you think?
Well, when I first saw it, I mean, I saw this after I saw Friday the 13th, after I saw Halloween, original Halloween, 1978. I'll be honest, this was not something I expected. I was a kid. I think I was 13 or 14 when I first saw this. It was late at night, ABC television. Right after Saturday Night News, they had a showing of of Nightmare on Elm Street. When I was watching it, I'm hearing the synthesized soundtrack, and I'm just like, because I was used to, the creepy violins, the creepy horns, the creepy or the keyboard of the original Halloween, or the piano. So I'm hearing all the synthesized music. I'm like, what is this? And it just seems so dreamy, and so it was so different from the other horror movies that I was used to. So I thought Freddy Krueger was just another, slasher, like another slasher dude, just out there killing people. But I didn't realize this. He kills people in their dreams. And what was weird was the first time I came across that concept was not Freddy Krueger killing people in their dreams. It was groundskeeper Willie killing people in their dreams in the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. Remember that episode?
Yes, nice reference.
Yeah, there's it's ridiculous. It had that. It had The Shining, not The Shining, The Shining, and then there was another one. I forget what else, but
The Shining.
Yeah, The Shining.
Yeah, I know.
The Shining. You mean The Shining? We don't want to get copyrighted.
The shinning is when you get tackled in football, isn't it? In soccer. Oh my God, me shin, it's gone again.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Well, remember, no TV and no beer make Homer go something. Crazy. Don't mind if I do. I loved. Like in retrospect now, after watching it several times since then, the original movie is such a classic. It redefined the slasher genre because, let's be honest, 82 was the official nerd year for science fiction. 81 was the official year, in my opinion, for slasher films because there were too many of them that came out. Too many more.
81. Okay.
81. So this was 84. The slasher genre was kind of, becoming, the milk. It was already milked to the point. So now we get to this awesome redefinition. I'd like to go further. I don't want to take too long. So that's my initial take.
No, that was awesome, Nerdporeal. Thank you. That's great. Yeah, as you say, it didn't invent the slasher movie, but there was a real kind of boom, wasn't there, of slasher-based horror, like kind of cheap, schlocky, teenagers in peril horror at that time. But would you say Halloween started it all off, the original, John Carpenter?
More or less, yeah. I mean, the whole teenager thing, the high school age thing, because even Black Christmas before that was college. That was sorority.
Right. That's a good one. Yeah, Black Christmas. Wow, that takes me back. Just a quick shout out to Troy Pazelli in the chat. How are you doing? Great to see you. He says he thinks it was Dreamscape before Nightmare on Elm Street for him. I remember that. Was that the one with Dennis Quaid in an early role? Am I thinking the right
it's funny. One? I read about that. Some studios rejected his pitch for Nightmare on Elm Street because of that movie.
Oh. Okay, that's brilliant. Anyway, thank you, Nerdporeal. Let's get the next thoughts from Purple Valkyrie, who has a fantastic avatar.
Thank you. Yes, gotta represent our girl Nancy, and I actually love Nancy as a character, as one of the final girls from these horror movies. As you say, played by the fantastic Hera Langenkamp. But I watched this film probably younger than I should have done, but I never found Freddy frightening. I just really love the character because, as Nerdporeal said, up until then we had the kind of silent, hulking killers. You think of Jason and Michael Myers, and then you had Freddy, and Freddy had the personality. Not so much in the first film, but as the series progressed, he obviously gets more and more. You get more about him, but just because of Robert Englund, I can't imagine anybody else playing him. And I know we had that horrible remake, but he will always be Freddy for me.
Yeah, I agree. The remake was disappointing. I mean, we can talk about that later. But Robert Englund, I remember him from V, the miniseries, and then the
Yes,
regular
Willie.
series. Yeah. So I think he was probably, at the time, they would cast quite a few actors. They were casting a few, but he was one of the ones who could actually fit it in his schedule. He was between series, the V miniseries and the main one. So, but as you say, Purple, he makes the character in the movie, I think, so good.
He absolutely does, yeah. There's just a style about him, sorry, that the way he moves, he kind of stalks across the screen.
I got this kind of weird, like almost mischievous, not god of mischief, but yeah, like almost like a goblin or something about him. But yes, thank you for that. What's Nerdporeal pointing out?
No, I'm pretending I'm cutting off my finger like he does in the movie.
Oh god, that is a creepy scene.
And it, like,
Okay,
green
speaking
stuff in out.
of creepy scenes, Steve, Prophet the Dragon. Let's get your thoughts. What are your brief
Yeah.
thoughts on the movie?
What can I say? A creepy scene, huh? Was that where? Because that's a cue to cut my my boob like he does. I I'm not a horror guy. I do not like being scared. I am suspense, fine. You know, horror just was never my thing. So or it still isn't, right? So I remember I don't know why now after watching it again, obviously, however many years later, but I remember being something in this movie, and I'm pretty sure it was Johnny Depp's going out in this video or in this movie that freaked me out and kept me from sleeping for days. I sort of laughed at it this time because, like, man, I don't realize what I was so scared of. But it was interesting to watch it again from definitely from a perspective of not remembering it very well, obviously, because it wasn't really my thing back then. It's still not really my horror. I'm not huge into horror right even now, but it was just I definitely watched it and got more like the campy laugh, like, okay, I can watch this and not be like terrified anymore thing. It was very interesting experience. Revisiting it after the scary experience that I had, or I felt like I had when I was a kid. So I found it interesting. I wasn't sure if I was going to watch it, but I my oldest son called me a big pansy, so I can't have that. So I went for it. He's like, you can't let Gray down. Don't be a pansy. I'm like, all right, you got me. So here I am. Dude, my kids know where it's at, right? They'll call me out. They don't pull any punches.
I've got your kids to thank for this. Thanks for bringing Steve on. That's brilliant, kind of pushing you onto the stream.
That's right.
But yeah,
They're
Steve,
for you.
as you were saying, like, of course, when you watch something when you're a teenager, a young teenager, and then when you watch it years later, it's not going to have the same effect. But for me, the first movie had the kind of most, not scary, what's the word? Creepy or kind of weird horror scenes. There are some strange scenes in there. Does that make sense? Like bizarre, almost surreal scenes. The one where Freddy's got the kind of elongated arms and he's chasing after Tina, the first one who gets killed. Things like that. As I say, we talked about mischievous, but also he was just downright weird, I thought, in the first one. And he goes on to become kind of funnier, a bit more of a comedy character, doesn't he, in the later series, the later movies.
You barely see his face in this first movie. Like he's covered in shadow, like most of the time.
Well, I just I'm sorry. Go ahead, Purple.
I was gonna say, I think he's only in it for about 12 minutes in total of the film.
Oh wow!
He's only in very short sections, and it's really not until the end where you really get a good look at him. And you mentioned the scene where his arms elongate, and the one thing that struck me watching this film again is how good the practical effects are, even now.
Oh. So good. Nerdporeal, what were your thoughts on the practical effects? I know they're dated, but do they still hold up?
There's so many of them. Like there's the part where Nancy is sleeping, and you see him trying to go through the wall like that. Like he has his hands like this, and I read that they use spandex. So I'm guessing part of the wall was covered in spandex so that he can do this, and then he goes back, and then she knocks on the wall. So she knocked on a certain part of the wall, certain part of the set that was solid. That's why I think they did. but I do know that they use spandex for that particular effect. And then you had the pancake batter where she's running from him. She's trying to go up the stairs in the pancake batter.
So good that, yeah. Like, oh no.
So I'm thinking that the holes were already there and she just simply stepped in them.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's chopped up carpet they put on top of it to make it look like a stair, and as she stepped into it, she just sinks in.
Yeah, and I want to learn about that rotating room they used to create the the effect of Tina going up on the ceiling, and of course the Johnny Depp with the geezer, Steve's favorite part of the movie.
The geyser of blood. It was crazy.
I saw that. I was like, whoa, what is this? So
well, you're not scared when you start laughing, and I just started.
No.
I started laughing. I was just like, it's like, oh my god, I don't remember it being like this at all.
Steve, why do you hate Johnny Depp, Steve?
Well, I mean, shoot. It's too pretty for me, I guess.
He was so young and innocent, wasn't he, back then? He looked it as well.
He's very 80s. He had that very 80s look. You know what?
Yeah.
I heard that they originally offered that to Charlie Sheen, but Charlie Sheen's agent asked for too much money. If it wasn't for Charlie Sheen getting out of this, we'd never have Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp.
There you go. My favorite character was not Kevin Bacon, whoever that guy was that was trying to look like Kevin Bacon. He's like a nobody character. He stands up and says reading something. I'm like, dude, that's not Kevin Bacon right there. Who's that guy?
Kevin Bacon was in Friday the 13th.
I thought he was in every movie Kevin Bacon ever made.
He was the replacement. They couldn't get him.
Hail to Jake D in the chat. Thanks, mate. I know it's bed o'clock for you, but he's in lurking mode. And great to see Nay very early in the Europe. Well, a little bit later than Purple, but yeah, good to see you, mate. Is it beer o'clock? Not quite. It's 1:17 p.m. for me, so I'm being careful. Okay, so that's great to get your thoughts. The next one I was going to talk about is the performances. Who are your favourite characters? Do you have anyone in particular? So again, we'll start with... let's start with Purple. We'll skip and we'll go around that way. Purple, Steve, and then Nerdporeal.
I'm going to have to go with Nancy. I just think she's a great character. She's very believable. The one thing they did very well with the kids in this is they actually act like kids rather than like young adults, or they behave like teenagers. And I really like the dynamic between her and her father, played by Saxon. I thought that was a really great thing that they had
John
going
Saxon.
on.
Just love
John
him,
Saxon,
don't you?
Yes. And as the film goes on, she's getting more and more irritated with the adults because they're just not listening to her. And then she has to take matters into her own hands to get Freddy. I just love it.
The way they built up a character, Purple, what a difference these days, where they just throw in a character already, totally trained and ready to take on the world right from the start. But she starts out as like a proper, what's it, a girl in peril, the Scream Queen, but she becomes stronger and she actually studies, about home defense. Yeah, it's a bit over the top, the traps she sets later on, but I just love that
Home Alone on him.
Yeah, she does. Home Alone before Home Alone. Okay, thanks for that.
Home Alone was based off of a horror movie.
Really?
A European, I forget what country. I think it was French.
Didn't know.
Or German or something, yeah.
So Nancy for Purple. How about you, Steve? Prophet, who was your favourite character?
I guess funny enough, I just... Johnny Depp's character, just because he frickin' does exactly the opposite of what he's supposed to do every frickin' time. It's like, don't go to sleep. Out he goes. Like the mom, it's like I was thinking about. It's like the mom character, just like she has like crazy face all the time.
Yeah.
So she's sort of fun too, but like because she's just like, by the end she's just like weirding me out. So I'm like, dude, blink every once in a while, please. But I'd have to say just because it's like, okay, we told Johnny Depp's character to do one thing, he's going to do the exact opposite. Way to let everybody down. So yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. How about you, Nerdporeal? Could you choose one favorite character?
That's a tough one. I mean, I guess I could say the most iconic one, obviously, Freddy Krueger. Robert Englund's performance is just, I mean, like, he was originally going to be played by David Warner. If you know David Warner from Star Trek 5, Star Trek 6, Time Bandits as the Devil, and he was the professor in Ninja Turtles. So he was originally supposed to be Freddy Krueger, but he ended up having, and things ended up falling through, and that's how they didn't get Robert Englund until very, very late in the game. And a lot of actors were not willing to go as far as England was to play an evil dude that murders children. Because the original idea for Freddy was to make him a child molester, which is what the 2010 remake was. And another fun fact: the guy that played Jackie Earle Haley from that movie, he went with Johnny Depp to the audition for this movie, for the original movie, because he was the same age. Yeah, so I think he tried to audition for a part and he didn't get it, but yeah, it got to that point where a lot of the people that auditioned for this original movie that didn't get it were in like the sequels, like the main kid, the main guy from part 2 was tried to audition for Glenn against Johnny Depp, so he was like the last. He was the last. Him and Johnny Depp were the last two to be considered for the role. So. But yeah, I liked Johnny Depp was very 80s. I just got a big kick out of looking at like Johnny Depp is very 80s with the hair, like the hair and
his hair was enormous.
And he
had tank top.
And he wore the midriff 80s midriff shirt because he had that flat stomach and everything.
Steve, you should wear one too. Just saying.
Bring it back, Steve. Bring that look
Bring it back.
It's a special occasion, I guess. Well, you got to get monetized. So I'll put it on for super chats for you. There we go. Let's get for super chat. I'll bring it back. We'll bring it back around. Why not? I thought for a minute Nerdporeal's fun fact was going to be that the guy that went with Johnny Depp was actually a pedo.
Damn.
Oh Jesus.
Sorry, I went there.
On that note, guys, interesting comment from Dempsey. Thanks for your interaction, mate. Thanks for your comments. I appreciate it. The cast and crew refer to Nightmare 2 as the gayest nightmare. Their words, not mine. They made a documentary called Scream Queen about it. Mm-hmm. There's actually a really good, well, there's quite a lot. There's a really good documentary on YouTube. I think it's from the Laserdisc of the original Nightmare and about the whole series. That's on for free, so recommend checking that out. But yeah, great to get your thoughts on the favourite character. For me, it has to be Nancy. I'm with, I think it was Purple. So just the way they developed her, she went from being a bit of a like useless Scream Queen to, kicking Freddy's ass, just taking control. And this idea of how trying to beat the nightmare by taking its power away, turning your back on it. Yeah, it could be risky, but I like that idea. Yeah, don't give the thing its power.
I do appreciate how she grew. I do appreciate how she grew throughout the movie, which if this was a modern movie, she would have known how to do all those booby traps they would have not included her, that scene on the bridge where she gets the book, where we learn that she has the book and she's been reading about that. It would have just been, oh, she knew because she's the best.
Some of those traps as well, they were kick ass, weren't they? They were dangerous. They worked. Okay, let's have a look. The next one was, next point, visuals, which includes like cinematography or even the FX, the locations. What did you think of the look of the movie? So should we start with Steve this time? The look or the FX as well, Steve?
I thought some of the effect. The practical effects we sort of talked about earlier. Like some of the just, I think it was Nerdporeal mentioned it, just the spandex and the wall thing that was pretty interesting, and then the end scene, just with the whole the bed and then the mom, that was sort of like an interesting sort of setup, I guess, or just surroundings. And then I guess actually just like I found the first kill scene was like, I found myself wondering how they actually did that back then. So it was interesting what Nerdporeal said about them using a spinning room, and it's just like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Because I was thinking to myself, like, wow, I wonder how they did that back then. So I found that all pretty cool and interesting, and just they didn't pull any punches. That was the best part. It was one of those lots of blood, and they just went for it. At least for me, anyways. If you're gonna do it right.
If you're going to do it, don't hold back. And as you say, that Johnny Depp death scene is just so over the top, but it does kind of freak you out.
Yeah.
Ooh. It does, because you're not quite sure what happens to him, so it's kind of left up to your imagination. So and anything that you can come up with it can be worse than what's actually shown.
Because I was listening to this movie for the first time with headsets on my computer, I got to overhear some of the mutterings, like right after Johnny Depp gets killed. They're bringing a stretcher into the house, and I don't know if it was the paramedic or one of the cops was like, you can't bring a stretcher, you need to bring a mop.
Yes.
I heard that. Yeah, I was like, yeah,
I'm
that
like,
was good.
I never picked that up before. See, there's always something new to pick up. So yeah,
Some great kind of background lines or just like throwaway lines, but there were some crackers in there. I meant to write them down, but yeah.
Where's the coroner who's been in the bathroom throwing up since he got here?
Yeah, that's another one.
I don't think we see the coroner. To be
We don't
honest.
know. He's
We don't.
too busy chucking.
Yeah, that was intense, wasn't it? As I say, yeah, when the younger me was pretty freaked out by that, like the mountain of blood. But I heard from the documentary that the revolving room, when the blood's pouring out, you actually see there's a desk lamp, and it's hitting that lamp, and I think it almost started either a fire or electrified the whole set. There's rumors of it almost. If you watch it in a replay, you'll see it just catching a desk lamp in the bedroom. It's like dangerous. But anyway, everyone survived, thank God. Well, no, they didn't, did they? Everyone got killed. It's Freddy.
Yes.
Where are we? Dempsey just pointed out a scene out of order in the edit. She should have called her dad after trapping the house and talking to her mum. Yeah, just briefly, guys, we talked about the great, weird, freaky bed scene. What about the later bed scene, the kind of comedy bed scene where her mum just kind of disappears into the bed, and she's a weird skeleton raising a skeletal arm as she disappears. What was that all about?
I don't know.
The end was very I was like, what the hell? Just like not just that scene, but then after that too, I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, what? I'm so lost. Like I thought it's like, did we win? Did we win? Did we lose? What happened? Like
it's life is but a dream.
Is it all just a dream?
It's all just a dream.
It does keep going back to that, doesn't it? And that weird scene, apparently they shot a few alternate ending scenes, and that's the one they chose, that one because it was so stupidly funny, they said.
Yeah. So they originally one of the funders of the movie, or one of the producers, wanted like Freddy to be driving the car. They get in and Freddy be driving the car. He's like, and Wes Craven's like, no.
It's too obvious.
The Freddy Mobile is awesome, man.
And then there was another version where nothing happens. Like they just live happily ever after. And there was supposed to be fog. There was supposed to be like a lot of fog, but the fog, it was too breezy of a day, so they couldn't use the fog machine.
Blew the fog away.
They should have had like Freddy's claws on the headlamps. Like they do those bad eyelashes. Like there's just claws.
If I remember correctly, they kept that particular ending because of the way the roof of the car slammed down so violently. It actually scared the cast and made them jump. So the reaction that they have is a genuine one. They thought it was just going to kind of fold over them, and it just slams down.
Yeah, and the top cover of the car was red and green. That's
it was. Good point. I've got to say, I'm impressed. Nerdporeal, he's studied for this as well. He's done his homework. Look at that. That's awesome. So, Nerdporeal, should we go to you next? I asked Steve about the general look of the movie, the visuals, or the cinematography. What do you think?
Well, I mean, for starters, this movie, I mean, it's not Stanley Kubrick level, but the cinematography is easily palatable compared to modern methods. There's no shaky cam. I'm so thankful for no shaky cam. You either zoom in, you zoom out, maybe you move a little bit, or you keep things in a nice little tight frame.
Yes.
That's it. I that's what I want. That's what I want to see in movies. I'm just sick of it. But there were some really iconic shots, of course, when Nancy is in the bathtub, and then of course Freddy's hand comes out in between, like she has her legs open, and then a hand comes out. They built a bathroom set on top of a pool. That's how they managed to achieve that effect in that particular scene when he pulls her down deep into the bathtub. So it's just crazy, like the stuff that they were willing to do. And the thing was, I mean, they were lucky to get investors. They got like several investors who were willing to put money into this, because originally they were going to get like $600,000-$700,000. They ended up getting slightly over $1 million to be able to pull off these effects. So And the thing was, this movie is what made New Line Cinema.
Yeah,
The same
pretty
people
much.
that did Lord of the Rings. This Freddy Krueger built with blood New Line Cinema.
Was it back in 1984, Nerdporeal? It says from the budget was just over 1.1 million, and it made 57. That's huge back then, for a B movie.
Yeah. Would you consider this a B movie?
Me, or I would definitely, but in the best
Yeah.
way. But in the good way. Like it's not like
Yeah.
the B movie. Calling something a B movie shouldn't be a bad thing. That there is a place in this world for B movies, and that's and just because you give it the grade of like a B movie, I don't consider that bad. I just think it's a different type of movie, right? For me, anyways. I mean, um, and one of the other things I didn't mention, I think like just thinking about like how they do things today. I don't know that it would have had some of the restraint that they had with some of the things like the tub scene. Like they would have, just to have the restraint that, the arm goes up where it goes up, right?
Yeah.
They would have done something stupid, right? And it would have just been like the very subtle hand goes up, she wakes up and goes down, right? Would have been something just like, I don't know, like slashed open her leg or tried to, do something else. You know what I'm talking about,
Steve,
right? You know what I mean?
Carefully wording your.
Well, yeah. Do you know what I mean, right? The restraint,
Yeah.
right? It's just a different time period. It makes it better.
Restraint. That is a good word and a good thing to remember. Yeah, restraint. Even in the old B movie horrors, they knew when to like draw the line. They knew when to hold back, and leave the rest to your imagination. Purple. How about you? What do you think of the visuals, the look of the movie, or the FX?
I think it's great. I think, as I said, we talked about the practical effects, and
Yeah.
I think the one thing we didn't talk about is the makeup effects, especially with Robert Englund, and just how many iterations they went through to make this iconic look. I think Wes Craven originally wanted him to look more skeletal and more kind of stripped down, and then somebody said, well, this would look a lot more effective if he was burned. So they went through different versions to try and get this correct look. And obviously the iconic red and green sweater. They went for contrasting colours, and they also went for Christmas colours because it's so jarring, this character. But yeah, we talked about the setting, and there isn't really that many. There's obviously the school, there is the boiler room that they visit a couple of times throughout the nightmares, but most of it takes place in the house, and I love that it's an actual house, and every so often it goes up for sale, and I think it's just recently sold for about $3 million. So can you imagine owning the actual Nightmare on Elm Street home?
No way. Yeah, that's a great point. And also, I was going to say, keeping the location pretty simple, weren't they? But yeah, I guess they built an indoor set, didn't they, of the house, and just used the exteriors of the real house. But it looked like they were using it a lot, and that kind of surprised me.
Yes, I think the boiler room as well. I think it was actually an abandoned prison that they kind of built up and then had to vacate quite quickly because it was full of asbestos.
I don't know about you guys, but yeah, all the boiler room scenes, the boiler room, they really freaked me out when I was younger. That added to the horror, just the fire, the sound of the children's kind of crying, the voices, just the look of it, the darkness.
And the
Great
claws
setting.
Scraping along the pipes.
Yeah. That's it. Okay, on that note about the sound, let's go on to the music soundtrack, or the general, like the sound effects. And I've got to start with Nerdporeal on this because he's a big fan, I think, of this soundtrack.
Yeah, it's 80s synthesized greatness. And you would think like if I didn't know this movie, if I didn't see this movie, I would have thought John Carpenter did the music for this, but he didn't work on this in any capacity. So I think the music was done by, what is his name?
Said it's Charles Bernstein or Bernstein.
Charles Bernstein. So
yeah,
there you go. And it has the music has this, like you bum 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 bum. It's very it sounds innocent. It sounds very childlike, childhood innocence.
Yeah.
But then it gets creepy, and then it's like then like now Freddy's coming, and now you're not going to have that childhood innocence. You're going to be either a victim or something. So it's a very telling. And this score is like any John Carpenter score is just like it's like another observer that's kind of stalking you, the viewer, or staying with you, staying in your head and everything. So it's got that presence, and it's one of the things that modern stuff cannot replicate.
There was, like you say, there was a real kind of almost childish innocence to the soundtrack, but they were subverting that. They were changing it, weren't they, as it went on? It made it scary. But that theme is so catchy, isn't it? Such a simple theme.
Yeah, they got the idea from the old '70s song Dreamweaver, the way they use synthesizers, and that's where Wes Craven got some of the concepts for Freddy Krueger. And of course, there was the other thing that he did was a lot of people from Asia who experience like war, experience traumatic stress.
Yeah,
there were points where they had nightmares and then they just died, and that there were so many cases of that in the early '70s. And so that was another thing that really inspired, the whole dream sequence. And by the way, the doctor in that dream, and the dream doctor in that movie, is played by Roger Rabbit.
Yes!
Charles Fleischer.
That's it.
No way! I
That was
had no
him.
idea.
Yep.
Oh, okay, thanks, Nerdporeal. Purple, how about you for the music, the soundtrack? What did you think?
I love the music. As you say, it is iconic, but going back and rewatching it, it didn't really kind of register with me, because I was so focused originally, on the cast and the character, and I was getting into the plot. But the music really does elevate it, and you've got this kind of slow, almost kind of dreamlike when you think everything's fine, and then Freddy appears, and you've got these notes that just hit whenever he turns up, and then you've got the sound effects as well that you can hear. Usually you can hear the claws clicking, or he scratches them along something. So there's always that kind of in the background.
That's great. Yeah, what do you call it? Scratching along the metal pipes. That really weird and uncomfortable sound. It's almost not quite as bad as nails on a blackboard, isn't it? But they use that so well to unsettle you, I think. Steve, how about you? First time to watch it for a long time. How was the music?
Well, I mean, I think they did a lot of work to make sure that, and they don't do this nowadays again, to not bring it parallel to modern cinema, but they paid, I think, painstaking attention to try and make the tone of the music fit the scene, and make it sort of, for lack of a better term, another character. I mean, the music's almost a character in the movie, right? So I think that it brings a lot of weight to it, right? I mean, and not just and of course you have the little jump scare sounds too in there, because of course you would, but not just in that way, right? I mean, it's each, the ramping up of the music and the different, it's not just phoning it in. There definitely choices made to give emphasis to each scene with each piece that's added, at least I think. So it's like, I think it brought a lot of weight to each scene where it wanted to, and just it definitely was another character in the background of the film, I think.
He did a few other movies. I'm looking at Wikipedia now. He did a movie called Deadly Friend. That was Wes Craven's next film right after Elm Street. And they did another knockoff of another holiday slasher knockoff called April Fool's Day.
Black I've heard of that.
Mystery slasher. And then he did another movie. They did a whole bunch of documentaries. One on like Rose Kennedy, one on Maya Lin, one on other people. It's like he's only done a few horrors. He's done things from every genre. Well, he did Cujo too. So.
Oh, Cujo! Wow, there's a film I haven't seen for a long time.
Cujo's a great film.
Speaking of Stephen King, one thing I've noticed is how Freddy Krueger is a very Stephen King-esque type of villain. He reminds me a lot of Pennywise. If you've read it, Pennywise has a lot of things in common with Freddy Krueger. They attack you. They attack you like they attack you. They don't like Pennywise doesn't attack you in your dreams, but it's almost like a dream sequence sometimes when you especially when I've read the book and I've watched the newer films. You kind of wonder like what's real and what's not. But with Pennywise, like he knows he's inside your head. He knows who you are. He screams. He's like, I'm gonna pick on Prophet Steve. Steve, Nerdporeal's coming to get you, Steve.
Bye, guys. I'm out of here.
He's gone.
I walked away for 2 seconds. We're talking about Pennywise. It's like, no, I can't do that. I definitely can't do that.
No clowns.
No Pennywise. I want to sleep tonight. I'm good.
No clowns. Okay.
No, my mother was a huge King fan, so Pennywise. She loved the first It movie, and
Tim Curry's iconic. Yeah.
Yes.
not me. I couldn't. I didn't like it.
Well, I hate clowns, but I can appreciate it.
No. Not because it was a bad movie or anything like that. Just I can't.
Clowns.
I can't handle it.
Can't handle clowns.
Send in the clowns. No, don't send them in, please.
Maybe I should buy you an original John Wayne Gacy, the Pogo the Clown. I'll send that to you. I'll send that to you as a gift, Steve.
You've been watching too much Dahmer, man. You gotta get off that Dahmer show.
I finished it. I actually, me and Purple watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I know, that's why I said it. I'm stalking you. I am in all of your discords and stuff, dude. I do read what you write every once in a while, sir. Just so you know.
That's good to hear. Okay, guys, let's keep it on track. So, the next thing, just a couple more things to talk about. What do you think about the general, like the writing of this and like dialogue? Because we're going back to the 80s, and it's early 80s. It's still a little bit cheesy at times. We talked about it being a B movie, so you're not expecting Scorsese or that kind of level of dialogue. What do you think? Let's start with Purple this time. We'll go Purple, then Steve and Nerdporeal.
I think it's definitely a product of the 80s. I mean, you couldn't say it was from any other decade. I thought the writing was okay, especially when it came to the dialogue. I mean, it moved the plot along, which is what it needed to do. Some of them, the lines were a little bit silly. When she screams out the window at the police officer, "Get my dad, you asshole," always makes me laugh.
Yeah,
every
it's a
time.
great line.
But I think Freddie wasn't quite developed yet, so he didn't have some of his funnier iconic lines that he has in the later films, so he's really got more of a kind of snarling villain. I mean, he's got a couple of them, but there aren't really any that kind of stand out to me for this film. It's more the whole film, because of what it represented and the fact that it was something different. We'd had the silent hulking killers before, and now we've got this kind of smaller, kind of almost Weasley-like character that can get you in your dreams, and the fact that there is no escape from him because you have to sleep eventually. This isn't something that you can avoid, so you either have to face him or figure it out.
Yeah, you're going to have to face him in the end. You can try and stay awake, can't you? But it's going to get you, and the longer you leave it, I think probably the deeper sleep you'll have, and will you be defenseless? Maybe.
Yeah, well, your body starts to shut down after a couple of days. You physically start to fall apart.
Start to hallucinate, which you could talk about. That actually, is what the movie's about a little bit, but not anyway. Steve, how about you? Cheesy dialogue, was it too much for you?
It was a bit much, and as Dempsey said, Rod is the captain of the bad dialogue team. That dude, man, I was just like, I don't know, that was probably the one. What I just was having a tough time with. It's just like, man, this guy is too much, right? So yeah, the dialogue, but that's why it's it leaves something to be desired, but that's not what it's looking. It's not Shakespeare. Thank God, right? I mean, we don't want it to be. That's right? So it has its place. That's part of the charm, I think, right? It's just everything doesn't have to be this well-read, over the top writing thing, right? It gets the job done, I think, in what it's trying to accomplish, which is fine. But there are some Rod especially, and the dad had some weird lines. I feel like it was just like,
He wasn't very concerned, which was a bit odd for a police
No,
officer.
Purple, he wasn't. That was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just like I don't know the scene where they caught Rod sort of like I was like, what? Like you used me. It's like he didn't even know you're going to school.
Yes.
Yeah,
but Steve, Rod, going back to Rod, Steve, you got to remember that you haven't seen what he has seen.
Yeah, well, yes.
There you go.
None of us have, thank goodness.
Yeah, no. I tell you what, no, you're right though. It is cheesy. I think he had the cheesiest lines. Even Johnny Depp, some of his stuff was a bit, but it is what it is. But what I thought is it got better as it went on, and it got more interesting when they were talking more about the dreams. You know, when she went to the kind of sleep clinic and they were analysing that. That got good.
Well, I think it became more just Nancy and the viewer at that point. I think so. It was more focused, I guess, is the word.
Great point. Yeah, absolutely. And Nerdporeal, how about you? I mean, you named a couple of the lines there that really caught your eye. The one about the mop was very memorable. That was a classic.
Yeah. Honestly, the nothing in this movie really made me cringe. I mean, yeah, Rod's dialogue was not the best. He was having real problems. The actor was playing Rod had real problems, like he had drug problems and stuff. So that might explain why the delivery probably wasn't the best. But like the writing, like geez, like here's the thing. So Wes Craven writes this movie, pitches this to a whole bunch of studios. You know, the one studio that was interested, Walt Disney.
No idea. Walt Disney.
Walt Disney Productions.
Serious?
Not joking. And they're like, we are interested in this, but you're gonna have to change this. You have to tone it down. And he's like,
Nancy's a princess,
no.
Right?
She would have been. And Wes Craven's like, no. One thing I love about Wes Craven movies, have you guys seen The Hills Have Eyes, the original Hills Have Eyes, 1977?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I like is he puts his protagonists through hell, but the thing is they come out changed. That in the original Hills Have Eyes, the three of the protagonists, you're dealing with a whole family. Some of you didn't know who was going to die, who was going to live, but the ones that lived, they made major changes. Like it got to a point where they had to go from being total Californians, peaceful, to have to fight for their lives to the point where they had to kill. So, and I feel the same thing with Nancy. I mean, she had to learn how to take matters into her own hands and figure out how to kill Freddy Krueger. And she came out on top. So it's one thing I can appreciate about Wes Craven, R.I.P.
Oh, yeah, that's right. God, I was forgetting about that. Yeah, yeah. Good points. Thanks, Nerdporeal.
I mean, he's to me, him, Carpenter. Like, who would you consider like the god tier of horror? You have him. You have Toby Hooper, John Carpenter. Would any of you think would any of you consider Sean S. Cunningham for like Friday the 13th and what was that one? The movie House.
Yeah, the first Friday the 13th, definitely. Yeah.
And then the movie House with William Katt.
What
where
about
his house tries to kill him?
George A. Romero?
George Romero.
Great one.
Too. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, like I saw Dawn of the Dead. That's a great movie. Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. Those three are classics. So yeah, I totally agree. I haven't seen a whole lot else of George A. Romero.
No, me too. I've not seen that much. And Dempsey, shout out to you, mate. I really appreciate it. Don't worry about flooding the chat. It's awesome. I love the comments. The interaction's fantastic. I am sorry that we're not interacting as much as we usually do, but we're trying to make these more of a kind of panel, panel themed live streams. But it's so good to hear your conversations in the chat. And big shout out to Nosferatu as well. Thanks, man.
Yeah, Dempsey's awesome. He's been supportive of all of our channels, and so anybody says anything about him, it's BS. And
God.
I told you guys what I told you guys. So
we got you back, mate. Don't worry, we got you back.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one more thing before we go to a grade, which is Steve's favourite part of movie reviews. Now, you don't have to grade it. You don't have to grade it. Don't worry, I'm joking. Let's finish up with favourite moments or favourite scenes. What really stood out for you? So let's go for a Prophet because he's laughing. Steve, what do you think?
Well, it's gotta be. I mean, how can it not be the Johnny Depp scene? I mean, it's just like,
God.
it's just. I mean, it's like just from being scared of it when I was a kid to now just busting out laughing because this is like, what the heck happened? Like, why was I so scared? Right? I just, it sticks out immediately in my mind. And then I guess on the other. Because I'm so confused at what the heck is going on at the end, I always just that and the ending scene is just like, I thought we were done and then we're not done, and then it's just like, I was like, I just like it was like the movie ended and I was just like, huh?
A lot of horror movies back then, Steve, they used to kind of do the kind of fake ending and then there'd be another ending, wouldn't there? And it's like, sometimes they weren't sure, you think, how to end it.
Right, well, obviously, because I felt like that watching it. I was like, I am okay. So I'd say those two if I had to pick, just because they pop out the most of my, that and obviously the maggot slice across the chest there. That was delightful.
That was creepy. That was
why
wasn't
does he
it?
love mutilating himself? I don't understand that either. But.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Yeah, the Johnny Depp bed, like fountain geyser, was amazing, like crazy scene. Nerdporeal, how about you? Anything that really stood out?
Well, there was that one creepy moment where she was in her room. She unhooks the telephone. Because remember, people used to have these things called telephones, and with buttons to dial phone numbers, and everything. Well, the phone rings, and she answers it. The phone is off the hook, but it still rings. She answers it, and it's Freddy Krueger on the other line. He's like, "I'm your boyfriend now." Then the tongue comes out of the phone, starts licking her.
Great scene.
Yes, and I think this was right before the. With Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
but that was a great moment, and of course the most intense part of the movie, in my opinion, was, I mean, there was the end, of course, the final battle, but I feel when Nancy falls asleep in school and she follows Tina's corpse and follows to the boiler room and gets attacked and she's screaming. The music was so awesome in that moment when Krueger attacked her for the first time in that boiler room or the school basement. I couldn't tell if it was the same place.
No, you're right. That is a fantastic scene. That's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's just awesome. And of course the teacher wakes her up. And this was one of the weird things, that this teacher actually cared about the students. It was weird. You never thought teachers cared about students and stuff.
Still told her to get a hall pass though.
And that was Lynn Shay, wasn't it?
Screw your hall pass. Or what'd she say? Did she say F your hall pass? I forgot.
Yeah, screw. Dempsey's put it in the chat. Screw your hall pass. Hey, no running in the hallway.
The girl's like, don't forget your. She's wearing a red and green shirt. Don't forget your hall pass.
It's moments like that I love in the movie. Just like these weird, sudden, like crazy, like bizarre moments just dropped in. Yeah, Purple. How about you then? Can you pick one or a couple of favourite scenes?
I really like Tina's death. One, because it looks so effective technically and just visually it looks great. And it was so iconic that they recreated it in Wes Craven's New Nightmare as well. They bring that kill back. So I think that was great. I really loved the bathtub scene because it was so clever.
Me
as
too.
Nerdporeal says, she's basically just sitting on the chest. I think it was the prop master or someone. It wasn't Robert Englund this time. And he's just putting his hand up between her legs while she's on this thing. It just looks great, but the level that they went to figure out how to do this, and it just works incredibly well.
I agree, and I have a confession to make. As a young teenage boy, I used to rewatch that scene quite a few times, I have to say. Just saying, oh my God, but it's so effective, and I like what you said, the point you made, was it Nerdporeal or Steve, the way they drew it back, they didn't go, the way you thought it was going to go, they just left it to your mind, which, I love that.
Just that sometimes it's hard to just not do it, right?
And
That's
even when
true.
she's in the water, you don't really see anything, even though she's naked, obviously, but it's just implied.
Very cleverly done, yeah. I was a bit
Yeah.
disappointed. I was kind of like really looking. I couldn't see anything, but yeah, there you go. But no, it is a good scene. It's very dark, and you feel the depth. It's like suddenly, wait a minute. This is supposed to be the bath where you're safe. And you're being pulled deep underwater. That's such a great idea. Nosferatu's got a question for the panelists. I'm almost afraid to read it. Let me just check. Okay, it's okay. What is a scene in a non-horror film that genuinely startled you or made you feel like, unsettled? A non-horror, okay.
Well, I did see
I don't know.
I did see a
That's tough.
Belarusian movie, a war movie,
Oh,
called Come and See. It's about a boy. It's about a young Belarusian boy. I forget his name. This came out in the '80s. It's about a boy who witnesses like the worst atrocities of the Nazis. So
oh,
he was with a company, or the company takes him away from his family. He tries to run. They abandon him. So he goes back home and he can't find his mother or his 3-year-old sisters. And he's with a girl. He's with a girl that he found. They're running out of the cabin, and the shot rotates. They don't see. Well, the girl sees it, but the boy doesn't. The rotates behind the house. There's a whole bunch of bodies, whole bunch of bodies um, stacked, and of course that was the first thing. And then, of course, there was another scene where he witnesses like rape. He witnesses all like women and children inside a church being burnt to the ground. And it gets to the point where the movie starts with him looking like a regular boy. He has normal hair. He's like 15. At the end of the movie, he looks like an old man. He's got like his face is wrinkled, his hair is gray. And I'm like, how did they do that? How did the director do that? I don't know how he did it. What they say is that the director just put the actor through hell. I'm hoping that's not true. But that was that, and that movie. The movie was framed like a horror movie. Like the music was very Shining. The movie's soundtrack score sounded like Shining, at certain points. It's ridiculous. But that was a non-horror movie. That really, yeah, I bought the movie because I was so unsettled. Criterion Collection.
You're muted, Gray.
thanks, baby. Talking away like a complete fool. Yeah, thanks for that, Nerdporeal. I know war movies especially, they can be very harrowing. And
They should
just
be.
what's in the background, often that's more effective, isn't it, than what they're showing you up front. In the background, you get hints of the horrendous moments of it. But Purple, how about you? From the question for Nosferatu.
That's easy. The scene in Superman 3 where I think her name's Vera becomes a cyborg, where she gets dragged into the machine and you
I
see all
remember
the,
that, yeah.
the bits and the wires stick to her. That gave me nightmares.
That's cool, because it's,
And then
a
her eyes go
non-horror.
blank. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that used to get me when you saw her eyes went like.
Yeah.
Great, that's a great one. Look
Didn't
at that.
see that coming, and yeah, that scared the heck out of me. That and the child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, of course.
Oh God,
I have to see those movies. I have not seen
terrifying.
either of those movies.
When you're a kid. Okay, thanks for that, Purple. Steve, do you have one? A non-horror movie where you kind of freaked out with something? What the hell was that?
I don't know. I'm gonna keep thinking about it. I can't. I don't have anything near as good as those two answers, to be honest. So it's
How
gonna
about
take
the
some more
Bozo
thought.
Show?
The Bozo Show.
Yeah, clowns.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Rings of Power.
Oh,
Yes.
That whole show is disturbing. Does that count?
hey, that's not fair to Bozo. That's not fair to the Bozo Show. The Grand Prize game's still awesome.
Man, I don't know. I'd have to think about it because nothing's popping straight out to me, and unfortunately, just not popping out. Because I mean, a lot of war movies have that effect. I forget the one war movie where the Mark Wahlberg one where none of the guys survive. I forget when that one bothered me quite a bit. I forget what it was called. Just the fact that they what happened to those guys and they left them and they all died. it bothered, except for one guy. Oh, Lone Survivor. Lone Survivor.
Lone Survivor. I've heard of that.
That whole movie bothered me, because just the abandonment of that whole group of guys and just the position they put him in. But I don't think that's quite what he's thinking about. But it affected me in a way. There's not many movies that just I can't watch just sure disgust of a real life issue. And just the thought of just American soldiers being abandoned and thrown to the wolves just bothered me quite a bit.
No, that's a good one, man. That's a good one. It's hard to think outside of horror, but the only one I can think, I don't know if this is horror, it's psychological or suspense, but is it Black Swan, Natalie Portman, where she plays the ballerina losing her mind? The bit where she's peeling off a skin on her fingers, that freaked me out so much.
Ooh. And then she gets like the feathers sticking out of her shoulders and she's kind of pulling them out.
Some weird scenes.
I got it. There was a scene in Rings of Power where Galadriel rode a horse.
Nerdporeal.
It has scarred me for life. It scarred me.
Can't do it. We've been so mean, aren't we? It's terrible. I feel a bit sorry for the actress, but she's playing the worst character I think I've seen in years. I can't watch that show because of that character, her performance. It's just terrible.
Grace, she's going to get redeemed. It's okay.
Well, she can
Still
survive.
waiting.
She can survive massive fireballs to the face, apparently. So sorry, we're getting way off track.
I know. I actually have one more that really bothered me.
Go for it, Nerdporeal.
All right, there was a movie. Have you guys ever seen The King's Man?
Yes.
You saw The King's Man?
Mm-hmm.
The point that broke my heart, and I was thinking about it the entire next day because I watched it late at night, was when Ralph Fiennes' his son, I forget the actor's name, dies.
Yep.
I did not see that coming. Like, that was something I did not see coming. And then I thought about it, and I was thinking, well, that scene showcases what a lot of parents whose kids went off to war had to go through. And what was messed up was he pretended he was another soldier because his dad was such a high, like, he knew the prime minister, he knew everybody. So he was out of harm's way, but he didn't want to be out of harm's way. He wanted to fight with everybody else. So he crosses, he gets through a mission, he survives it, only for some jerk off on their side to shoot him in the head. I was like, wait, he's dead? No effing way. So the rest of the movie was just them dealing with it. I was like, just the idea of like a parent losing a child is one of the. I'm not a parent.
Yeah.
I'm not a parent, so I mean, I don't truly know the feeling, but all my friends are parents, and they've told me like that feeling. You have a kid. You have kids. Steve, you have kids. You always worry about them. You always want them to, be good. Okay. And so it was just really sad. It was just really sad for me. It was something I did not expect to see done. So, and it was not even this was just like random. This was like a random. It was senseless. So. Yeah.
They kind of stick in the head more, don't they? The random ones where you're just not expecting it. It's just like, oh no, but yeah, that's a good one. Okay, guys, before we wrap things up, do you want to give A Nightmare on Elm Street a grade or a recommend or not? You can give it any grading you like, out of 10, out of 5, I don't know, good, bad. Let's start with Nerdporeal. Put him on the spot.
All right, well, I give this movie 8.5 Nerdporeals out of 10. Oh. What does that mean? I don't know. It's something I most certainly recommend. If you like, good horror, if you like 80s, if you like horror, if you like movies that don't have shaky cam and just horrible editing, this is a great movie. And of course, you have a great villain. You have Robert Englund fills the role of the villain like flawlessly, and you feel like he's a menace the entire movie. He's a presence, even though he's only in the movie, as Purple said, for 12 minutes. He's a presence throughout the entire thing, and that's what we want. That's part of the entertainment. Now I know not horror's not everybody's cup of tea, right, Steve? I'm sorry, right, Steve? But that's part of the entertainment. Like, we want to be entertained. We don't want to be bored, which is what a lot of modern stuff does now. It's just just straight to the point, and that's what we appreciate, and that's why I give this 8.5 Nerdporeals out of 10.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for that, Nerdporeal. I've dropped a comment in the chat as well. Please give your ratings out of 10 Nerdporeals. That'd be fantastic. Okay, Purple, how about you?
I would give it 8 Nerdporeals out of 10. I love this film. I actually love the franchise. I love all of them for different reasons. Some are stronger than others, but this, because it kicks off the franchise, because we have such a charismatic character, and because he was so different to everything that we've had before, it is just a great film. I love the concept behind it, and I think it's really unique. You know, there have been other films that have sort of copied the idea, but Wes Craven got there first and he did so with quite a lot of his films, even though he had the tendency to remake his films later on down the line. But I love it, and he talks about Robert Englund, and Robert Englund's a sweetheart. I've been lucky enough to meet him quite a few times, and one time that I did meet him, he actually did his Freddy voice. He said, "Come to Freddy." I was like, "Oh yeah."
He said it. That's
he
awesome.
Said it. He's got the line. I've got a glove signed by him, and I've got his autobiography signed and artwork, and yeah, he's just a really, really nice guy.
That's awesome. I didn't realize you were such a fan of not just him and like this, this series. But yeah, I think the first one is probably not about the best, but it really, really just brought, what do you call it? It's something new, kind of new in the slasher genre, and it wasn't boring. Paul, you said not boring at all. You're not skipping ahead, are you, during this movie? Even during the cheesy dialogue, it's like, okay, I want to see what's happening next. And yeah, but anyway, before I go on to a waffle,
it broke new ground, as our Red Letter Media likes to say.
Broke new ground. Steve, Prophet of the Dragon. I know you don't like giving ratings, but what would you say? Go on.
Well, I mean, I think if we're giving it Nerdporeals out of 10, we'll give. I'd say it's 7 for me, just because I think it's worth, especially if you've never seen it. Definitely worth it. Watch it. You get to, depending on your age, you're gonna have a different take on it. I think is the number one thing for me, because it's just, there are elements in there that I think that's the most interesting part about revisiting it at this point is a much different reaction when I was younger to older. So I found that very interesting. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's it's scary fun, right? So it can be scary, but like for anybody that's knows what's coming a little bit, it's more of a fun scary, right? I mean, I could see younger people who haven't seen it being scared. I don't know that Easton would do too well with this because he's his father's son. But so I think 7's probably fair for me, just because I enjoyed watching it again. It was fun watching it again, and it's it's for all those reasons, right? So it's just a fun movie. Don't take yourself too seriously, right?
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it can be scary at times. It's got weird moments. It's got some kind of almost titillating moments, but they pull back from that as well. We've got in the chat, we've got Dempsey, 8 out of 10, and nice one. Zombie Main, 8.5 out of 10, and Nosferatu, 7.5. Okay, nice. I've got to give it 8.5. I agree with Zombie Main, because it was the first of what became a very interesting, creative franchise until it was kind of done to death. But most franchises aren't they, in the end? But I just love the playing with dreams and reality, that idea of it, having a kind of demon in the dreams who stalks you, and the way that Nancy brought him into the real world, that near the end, that was so cool. What a great idea. Grabbed hold of him before she'd set the alarm clock to wake her up, so she pulls him into the real world to fight him. Yeah, so many good ideas, even if it is a bit cheesy at times, and good to see strong female character actually being a really good strong female character who's developed and well written. There we go.
And not the bestest ever.
The bestest ever.
But that's beside the point. But yeah, this movie, like I said earlier, this movie really reinvented, it brought some new life into the slasher genre, because that was, I mean, like I said earlier, it was milked to death. So 1984, I mean, let's just say 1984 was a great year for several reasons besides this movie and plenty of other nerdy movies.
Nerdporeal!
Yeah. So I always get into arguments when people say 1982 was the most nerdy year. They might be right though. But I challenge them with 1984 all the time. I literally got into a fight with somebody about, or into a word salad fight, just like
Oh,
naming movies. Like we're trying to name movies and everything to one up each other. This
trying to
was last year.
out
Yeah.
Nerdporeal each other. That's awesome. Okay, guys, unless you got any final words, I thought we can wrap things up. This has been fantastic. Thank you for joining me at this early hour, Purple, and this late hour for Nerdporeal and Steve, Prophet the Dragon. Steve, I'll add your link to the description after we finish, so that's great. I'm so glad you made it, mate.
Yeah, me too.
But before we finish, a suggestion for the next one. I mean, we don't have to do it next week, but for the next movie review, let's see. So, because he's sitting next to me, where are we? Nerdporeal. What do you reckon for the next one, next show? It can be anything, yeah? It doesn't have to be horror. Hi.
Hi. I actually am facing west, so yeah. So you want?
Is it just random, like any movies? Because I'm gonna have to think.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be horror. It doesn't have to be horror.
Just like our favorites. Because there's
something you want to revisit, something say you've not seen for a long time. You're interested to revisit.
Or perhaps something I've never seen before.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do it. I'm not sure. Let me see.
Okay, we can talk about that afterwards. No problem. Okay, sorry to put you on the spot like that, but anyway, Purple, Valkyrie, and Nerdporeal Lifeform, Prophet of the Dragon, Steve. Thank you so much for joining me. The chat, you've been amazing. Nosferatu, thanks for your awesome modding. I always appreciate it. As Steve says, leave Eastern alone. Don't be having Eastern watching Requiem, Dream, or Black Swan, or Perfect Blue, or any of those movies. Oh, Nosferatu is shouting for Dark City. Of course, Dark City. We have to go.
Good.
We have to go there one day, definitely.
Yeah.
Can I plug? Can I plug a stream that's going to be happening tomorrow?
Oh God, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Before we finish, please shout out what you've got coming up. Nerdporeal, you go first.
So tomorrow, 9 p.m. That man to my left, right here. Yep. I see you. I'm looking at it now. Me and Gray are going to be doing a serial horror chat on Halloween 3 Season of the Witch tomorrow night, 9 p.m. my time, and it'll be 11 a.m. Gray's time. That way it works out. We're going to try to do. I usually do 2 hours, but I think we can do, because it's a horror movie and horror movies aren't too deep, hour to an hour and a half will be like the same, as similar to the stream. So if you're not have nothing to do, come on over. Let's talk some creepy masks and silver shamrock. 8 more days till Halloween.
Oh no, that song is never going to come out of my head.
Yeah, just like London Bridge is falling. Yeah, so there you go. So that's.
I always wanted one of those pumpkin masks.
Yeah, I want to see if I can find one.
They were cool, weren't they? They were cool and
They
scary.
were awesome.
Yeah. So that's Saturday, and then Sunday, me, Steve, and Pips from the White Cloaks. We're gonna be talking House of the Dragon, and if Salty's up for it, he can. He'll join us too. That's Sunday. Then Monday, I'm gonna be doing another horror with Pips. We're gonna be talking Jaws.
Oh, nice.
That'll be, I think, 5 p.m. in the afternoon. He hasn't confirmed it with me, so we'll figure that out. And then early Tuesday with Purple Valkyrie, we're going to be talking about 1958 Dracula, starring the man himself, the Mad Lad himself, Christopher Lee.
Heck yes.
Awesome.
Looking forward to that. That is going to be awesome.
And this is going to be my first time watching any Hammer horror, so wish me luck.
You don't mind campy cheese? I love them though. I love them. They're really good. Thanks, Nerdporeal. Sorry about that. I'm glad you reminded me to shout something out. Purple. So what do you have coming up?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having us. I love getting to talk about this film, and I love the series. So if we cover any others, count me in, please. What have I got coming up? I will be joining Salty tomorrow on his channel. We've got more weekend woo-woo. Looking forward to that. I've got lots of Halloween stuff on the way because we're now in October, and since I've already put it up, I will throw it out there. On the 30th of October, I'm doing a retrospective on The Crow. So if anybody would like to join, you are all welcome. Going to talk about the film and probably the comic book as well. But I love that film.
That sounds awesome. The Crow, yes, nice one. Okay, thanks, Purple. I know you're a big fan of October and the Halloween season, so it's great that, getting excited for this time of year. Steve, how about you? What have you got coming up? It's like me.
Rings of Power next week.
Yeah, so I have now been. I guess we are doing the live Rings of Power. It was fun. We actually had a good time last night. Afterwards too, I think probably afterwards more so than watching it. Watching it was so painful that we just sort of had to huddle and cry together for a little bit. But yeah, so we'll be doing that the Rings of Power live thing, and then after a little after discussion. There hopefully I'm now finally over this thing that I this illness, so I'm finally starting to feel myself again, so hopefully some videos coming out here soon. I got to figure out a Wheel of Time chat type thing, because I know I've had quite a few requests to just talk some good old book stuff, so some things on the horizon, nothing set in stone quite yet, but going into Halloween, 3 kids, they're hyped, so it's gonna be a busy month. So.
Good luck with that, Steve. You're gonna need it.
What are you gonna dress up as, Steve? What's your costume gonna be? Yes.
I dress up as Steve.
Steve?
That's what he needs on his t-shirt. Steve.
One day, to be honest, it's like I've never. I'm just like trick or treat dad. Like I take them out, but like I've never really dressed up. I think one year they're gonna get me to do it. But it's always like my focus has always been them. So, we Halloween throws up all over the house, so it's fun.
Yeah.
So they have a great time, and then. Yeah, so we'll be decorating the house. We got this werewolf, howling werewolf 8-foot statue that we put out front for all the kids.
Okay, any pictures, please.
That we call
awesome.
we lovingly have named Charlie. So yeah, maybe I'll share some shorts of the Halloween decorations. We got it keeps getting bigger. So
Nosferatu is going to be Steve.
We should all be Steve for Halloween.
I wish I had the muscles to pull it off, man. Have to get Jack though.
We'll have a panel of Steves.
Dempsey saying, Nosferatu, that sounds naughty. Yes,
man.
No surprises there.
Well, okay. What have I done?
Okay, guys, thanks again. Hang around in the studio before, when we finish, and have a quick chat before we go. Thanks again. I'll drop the closer now. So thank you for watching. This is Gray, Nerdporeal, Prophet of the Dragon, Purple Valkyrie, from the Wakizashi Tea House, saying good night. Now, where are we? Where's the closer? Here we go. Wakizashi's Tea House. Please subscribe.